When I talk about to teams about risk and mitigation, I really talk about this idea of risk and mitigation strategy. How do we connect the risks and mitigations to the solution rather than just presenting a risk and mitigation slide at some point during the presentation itself? So what I mean by this is it becomes a review of the information that's already presented. So that information, the risks are presented as part of the analysis. The mitigations are presented as part of the implementation. And the idea here is to present the important strategic risks and how to control them. So you come back and really summarize this information that you presented previously. When you look at this, we've got a slide here that has the impact and the probability. Think about it as really all you can control is the probability of a risk rather than the impact. The impact of that risk is really never going to change. So your mitigations will control that probability. And what you want to do, unlike the slide that you see associated with this, is make sure that you present them from highest to lowest. So the most impact with the highest probability is risk number 1, followed by number 2, number 3, etc. Here, they have seemed to have mixed up 1 and 2. So their most important risk that should be at the top of the list is number 2. And when you go to this, the idea of what's presented on the slide are the ranked strategic risks of the plan. You can also put a visual there. The risks that you're talking about should be already have been talked about when you talk about them in your analysis as you're going through and developing. This is why this solution is best. Mitigations should show up in your implementation. So they become steps in the implementation so that you show that you're mitigating the risks as you go through the plan. And that you can have a talkaway or a takeaway message that talks about the risks as you go through. What's a strategic risk? And why do you focus on the strategic risks? Because they will prevent a piece of the strategy from being carried out. Things, and this will vary from case to case, what those strategic risks will vary. But when you have an e-commerce strategy, cybersecurity becomes one of those risks. If you got an NFT strategy, ownership rights becomes part of that risk. If you can now adopt a new product, customer adoption is a risk. And the risks need to be mitigated with a detailed mitigation plan in that implementation. So talk about that. For example, for the possible delay in a new NHL arena construction, you could use additional funding buckets to pay for immediate contracting services when you run into those places that are delayed. So thinking about the strategic risk here is that the NHL arena is not constructed on time. How do we solve that? We solve that by having additional monies available so that we can get the things that are screwing up the construction schedule back on track.